An embarrassing game. A game where the team just couldn't get anything done. But then maybe a glimmer of hope at the end. The Edmonton Elks fall 44-28 to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They remain winless on this season. This is the Green and Gold post-game show. Matt Iwanyk, Jay Milne with you here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, as well as those watching on YouTube. We're live at Centric Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where every day is game day, just off of Fort Road. If you're coming from the game, come on down. We're here for an hour, but they're open for a long time still. They've got the games to go play. Actually, I don't even know how well you did today. I don't even know if you played much.
I really didn't play.
It doesn't seem like you did, because usually I know when you're gone to go play, and it doesn't feel like you did. But you did have the surf and turf, which was the daily special. I had the surf and turf. My parents had the surf and turf. We had 4 orders of the surf and turf. I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it, too. And let me take this opportunity to formally thank Mr. and Mrs. Iwanyk for picking up the tab. They didn't have to do that. That was unexpected, but it was a very welcoming surprise.
As I say with them and stuff, you're welcome. It's my money. Yeah. We always get into
Thank you for spending Maddie's inheritance on me.
So you're welcome. Although it's now more my niece's money. I will have to get a poll up here because you want a poll here. Before I do, okay, so your thoughts always welcome to Ask to Chat. Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999. There's a lot to get to in this, most notably about one position with this football team.
Yes, I know. We're going to talk about the center position, obviously.
We will need to spend some time on the defense. I don't want to go without talking about this defense. But to start, Jay, I will just bring you in fully here. Your thoughts on the game that we saw down at Commonwealth Stadium. Oh, and what was the question you want? Oh, I remembered. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, given that this team is 0-7, given that they laid a giant egg out there again, there's still a sense of positivity here, as I'm sure you, the listeners and the watchers, can tell. I've never, we've been at Century Casino for pretty much every game. I've never had any cheering for the Elks, not once, in here. By the end of the fourth quarter, specifically after the fumble, there was 4 groups and 4 tables in here that were clapping, cheering out loud for the Edmonton Elks. I've never experienced that. It doesn't take much at this point to satisfy any needs of wanting to see any margins of success. Let's talk about it. McLeod Bethel Thompson was terrible. That was his worst game by far. This is now becoming, I don't know if it's Jekyll and Hyde anymore. I think it's just Hyde. I think that's the guy we said was the bad dude, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. I think the second one.
It's full-on Hyde mode now. I mean, you're talking 10-22 for 85 yards and 1 interception. You made a good point that in a game and a half, they had not put up 1 offensive touchdown. That's simply not good enough. And for Jarius Jackson to come out at halftime and our dearest Tommy the Wrench asking the hit question, what's it going to be? Are you going to stick with MBT or are you going to go with Trey Ford? To have the arrogance to say, no, I'm sticking with that quarterback that laid an absolute egg in the first half, 10-22. What are you even? I don't understand that. That is. You're gonna stick with your guy. That's your guy. I'm sorry. That was a poor decision. And if you want to say, he was too proud to give in to the demands and chants, and we had several reports saying that this was the loudest booing that they've heard at Commonwealth in a long time, which says a lot. To stick with your guy? Pardon me. Excuse me, but that's terrible. That's terrible coaching. And, look what – I'm not saying that if Trey Ford goes in there at halftime, the Elks come back and win this game. But judging by the sample size in that game, in today's game, he comes in at 9:43 in the fourth quarter, throws for 121 yards and 3 touchdowns, an efficiency rating of 137. At this point, you can't. There's nothing you can say whether MBT was off or Hamilton had rested their starters, which they hadn't. They were still playing. If you recall, on the drive before Trey Ford came in, they went for 2. They were still wanting to pile it on. They did not rest their starters until I think the last series where the fumble happened. But yeah, there is now a question up on the poll in the Nasty Chat. Maddie, why don't you go over what this? I love how you put in the third option.
you have to go all three quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Who should be the starting QB of the Elks next week? McLeod Bethel Thompson, Trey Ford, Dakota Prukop. 90% so far through 40. How did it go down a vote? It was at now it's back to 41 votes. 90% saying Trey Ford, 10% saying McLeod Bethel Thompson. Thanks for those also correcting my scoreboard on the YouTube channel, because I had it 414 to 28 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That is not what the score was. For a while, it felt like it. For a while, it did feel like it. So jump in on that poll. Lots of comments already coming to the Nasty Chat and the Paris Jewelers inbox. I've been getting into it with Lucas in a Red Ford Ranger, I believe is his usual handle here, about Trey Ford. The one thing I will say to you, Jay, quickly here before I get fully on here, how much do you take that, okay, Trey Ford just went in late, garbage time. The defense wasn't there. What did you see about the Ticats defense? Do you buy into that at all?
Matt, I don't care if it was the Leduc Ticats Pee-wee football team out there. With 9 minutes and 43 seconds, you had the ability to put up 121 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not only that, but save your life twice and run and scramble and the things that the team Trey Ford have been wanting all season. We saw it in prime time, live in front of our eyes twice, where there's no question that MBT would have been sacked in that situation. Trey Ford somehow gets out of it and makes a big play. I mean, I hand up. I thought McLeod Bethel Thompson was the guy. But even at some point you have to admit you're wrong. And, he has had flashes of brilliance. I wouldn't say greatness, but he has had flashes where he's proven he's a quarterback in the CFL that can deliver. Today wasn't it. And especially given this leash that he had last week, and now coming into this game where you're thinking, okay, if we don't see results, from the coaching staff, I would consider they would need to make a change, and they didn't. And that was a souring interview coming out of halftime. I must admit, to hear that for all the fans that are yelling and screaming, and from what I understand, it wasn't the most stellar crowd. Well, guess why? That's the result you're putting up on the field. What do you expect as an organization? Now, the flip side is then you put in Trey Ford, and we all know what happens. From what I can see, from what I looked at, I didn't see that any of their starters had come out on defense. But there was just a different vibe. And I mean, not even on offense. On defense, there was a different vibe. I've never seen Javon Leak as excited and as defining when he's running the ball, catching the ball, as I did in the last 9 minutes of that game. I don't know what that says, but from a 10-mile view, I would say that says that this team rallied around Trey Ford, that there was a different feel, like, oh, finally, we can get this monkey off our back, because they hear those boos too. Mm-hmm. They hear those boos. So I felt that there was a major relief. Now, is this, okay, this is it. Trey Ford is our Joe Montana, and the Elks are going to turn around the season and go on a major run to win a Grey Cup. I don't know. I probably don't think so.
I want to jump in on that, because this has been my worry about the season with Trey Ford having to save the season, if you will, if he was coming in with this, because of Chris Jones choosing to go this route with MBT and Trey Ford. He is still a young quarterback. He is still a developing quarterback. There are going to be growing pains still with Trey Ford. Trey Ford is not a perfect quarterback. And everything you pointed out in the offseason about what Trey Ford needs to work on, that's still there. He still needs to work on that. He needs to learn to be a better pocket quarterback. He needs to have some better decisions when he's running, of going down. He's got to work on his passing and his accuracy with that. So this isn't, if he is ultimately the starting quarterback, and we'll get to that whether he will or won't be in a moment, if he does take the reins the rest of this season, there's still going to be losses. There's still going to be growing pains. There's still going to be struggles. That I want to put out there, and there's going to be some people out there that are just immediately going to feel like, no, this guy is Joe Montana. They're going to win every game the rest of the season. And I want to put the caution that that's not going to happen. There's still a full evaluation. It's still not 100% guarantee that Trey Ford is legitimately a long-term quarterback in the Canadian Football League. And so let's make sure to everyone else, don't put too much on him and this team that just because he has those flashes of brilliance and he does some really good things, that immediately this team is now just going to go on a massive win streak. There are still going to be some growing pains with Trey Ford. What?
But that was fun to watch.
It's fun to watch.
As a fan.
Well, this is where I was all offseason, Jay.
That was fun to watch.
He's fun to watch. And I wish, why couldn't we have done this all season? Why couldn't we have gone out there all this season? Because Chris Jones went to try to save his job, and in the end, he still lost it. He still lost it, and we missed out on 6 weeks of Trey Ford. I want to get to the defense momentarily, but I just got to go to Jarius Jackson from the kickoff show. We played his quotes, and we thought maybe there's gamesmanship. But his quote was, I was trying to be fair, and this is in regards to playing Trey Ford, but sticking with MBT. He made the comments making it seem like he was going to stick with MBT. I was trying to be fair. I'm going to do whatever's best for this team. You are not doing that, Jarius Jackson. You did not do that today. You did not do what was best for your football team. You needed to play Trey Ford at the start of the second half if you want to do what's best for your football team. And this goes back to now when I listened to those comments from the kickoff show and thinking about what I said. Jarius Jackson doesn't like Trey Ford either. He's Chris Jones. He's G. Roy Simon. They all don't like Trey Ford that much. And it's just like last season where Chris Jones was forced to go to Trey Ford because they were 0-9. Today, Jarius Jackson was forced to go to Trey Ford because he just honestly couldn't keep MBT out there. And look what happens. 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. Now, is he going to be the starter moving forward? We're going to find out. But Jarius Jackson, he himself just doesn't believe in Trey Ford, it seems, because why wouldn't you go to him sooner? It makes zero sense, especially when you're going to say the quote, I'm going to do whatever is best for my team, when your quarterback's getting nothing done. The final stat line, 10 of 22, 85 yards, and an interception. It wasn't there.
For McBeth.
For McLeod Bethlehem. Why wouldn't you make this change sooner? Why wouldn't you go there a little bit sooner? Would have this game been different? Probably not. Maybe it would have been closer, though. Now, go ahead.
I just can't help it. It was 21-8 at halftime. That's a 2-score game. That's a 2-score game, and yet you go back to what was clearly not working today.
Here's the end of the first half. So they scored 2 field goals to start.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk about that, too.
But they get 2 field goals to start,
travesty
start the game. Then here's the drive summary with McLeod Bethel Thompson. 2-0. 1 first down, 5 plays, 13 yards. 2 first downs, 7 plays, 20 yards. Both those ending in punts. 2-0, punt. 3 first downs, 6 plays, 30 yards, but ends in an interception on a McLeod Bethel Thompson poor throw. 2-0 at the end of the first half. To start the second half, McLeod Bethel Thompson had 2 drives in the third quarter, both 2-0s. It wasn't moving. Jarius Jackson talked about this week how, he doesn't want to ruin the flow, the rhythm. There was no flow or rhythm with McLeod Bethel Thompson. It was just constant nothing, and you chose not to go to Trey Ford until the score was, what was the score officially, 38?
Well, they put up another...
I'm just trying to see when Trey Ford came in.
Third.
So it was 41-8 when Trey Ford came in.
Yeah.
That's when you decided to go to Trey Ford. Like, why? Why? That doesn't make any sense to me in this one. Now, before, because we got to get into the nasty chat, we got into the Paris Jewelers inbox. There's a lot to discuss here. Before we do that, let's just get to the defense here for a little bit.
Well,
you can't give up 44 yards and expect to win a football game, too. You can't get beat the way that they got beat today and expect to win a football game. This defense, I don't know if it can be fixed in any way, shape, or form this season.
Well, I don't know. And, I mean, their cornerback, Lewis, went out early in the game. He was not going to return, so that put a player like Jake Taylor in a position on the corner, coming off of a 6-game injured list. That's a tough role for a young player like that. There was just some breakdowns. I mean, the late Tim White touchdown late in the game where he's wide open down the sideline, you thought he stepped out. It didn't matter. Yeah, I think you were just pissed off.
I want to see a replay.
Because you're playing against him in
I was
fantasy.
already done.
But, then there was the defensive breakdown on the Luther. I'm going to try this. Please don't, make fun of me. Hakunavanu. Former
Edmonton
McNally
Wildcat.
Tiger. Former McNally Tiger.
Go with the big one.
Former Edmonton Wildcat. Good to see him making an impact in this game, but at the expense of the secondary of the Elks. Bo Levi Mitchell didn't light the world on fire. He was 68%, 17 of 25 for 316 yards. actually, as averages would go, probably a little bit below his yearly average. But there was 5 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
5 touchdown passes. You're just not going to win with giving up these big plays. There were several, big plays, and there were at times where they were giving them up the first down, just trying to defend what was behind them. Which I guess if you're in that situation, it's take the least of the two evils. But it just paper soft, man. Toilet paper soft. I don't know if it's fixable, Maddie. I really don't, because they were not getting to Bo Levi.
Yeah.
And when they were, for some reason, and obviously this was part of the game plan, Bo Levi had a check valve often and available to run. They were definitely dicing up that defense. So I don't know.
First blowout of the season for this defense.
Yeah.
I will say maybe it's just Bo Levi. I don't know what his record is. He's got a great record against the Elks.
He does.
I know. Maybe he's just outright an Elks killer.
I think with
Or
this
double
win,
E
it's
killer.
like 6-2 or something. I saw it earlier.
It's got to be better than
a lot
6-2.
or maybe it was in the
he's
last.
got to be a lot. Yeah, that would have been a loss. I like overall his career record against the Edmonton Elks.
Wow.
And the Eskimos has got to be ridiculous.
He diced them up when he was with Calgary.
Yes.
Pretty good.
He won a lot of Labor Day series.
A lot.
So maybe it's just also he just knows how to beat this team. Sometimes that happens. Andrew Harris was a killer of this team too.
Well, he was a killer of a lot of teams, but
it was something special about this team, though.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but this defense, there's no cuts, in the NFL anytime soon. They're just starting camp. Cuts aren't coming for another 6 weeks or so.
I think we were in the second series of the second quarter, and
my dad threw it.
Roman looked over and he's like, "When do the NFL cuts happen?"
There's nothing going to be happening right away. I don't know what this defense does. I was expecting better from Jason Shiver's defensive calling. I'd have to go look. I don't feel like we see enough blitzes. I don't feel like they go with the pressure. Like if I'm going to see this Elks defense get beat, I'd rather do it seeing 8 men attacking the quarterback. Yeah, I can live with that because I'm like you have that pressure and you're trying something. You're getting beat anyways.
They don't have the horses in the defensive secondary to. You need to be able to cover down on guys, and when you're blitzing because you're losing one or two players.
Right at one of the first plays of the game.
Yeah, they blitzed on the first play of the game. I like that, and Bo Levi had to throw it away.
And that's where I just feel like you could mix it, bring it in a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
If I'm going to watch, who's the one that had the big touchdown catch? I've always
Iwanyk.
If I'm going to watch him score a massive touchdown,
Iwanyk, that's what it is.
Yeah. I'd rather see it because Bo Levi got it off after they were blitzing 9.
That was a breakdown.
I know, but that's
you look at it. That was a breakdown.
But they're always having issues. They're always having when they're not blitzing. We could point to this guy missed his thing. There's a breakdown here. This happened. I'd rather just be aggressive and lose being aggressive than sitting back and watching breakdowns happen and watching Kai Gray miss his guy or whatever it might have been this season. That's just the way if you're this bad, just send it all. Every third player, give me a 33 to 40% blitzes.
Or at least be involved in a horse race where, they're going to score, but at least, Edmonton would score as well. That wasn't the case tonight. Maddie, look at this. And this was something I heard Dustin, the big fella, say during the broadcast. Great job by him and Suits today. Third quarter net yards. This is just the third quarter. Now, this is Jarius Jackson's guy. This is my guy. I'm going to stick with my guy. Remember those words. 185 net yards for Hamilton, -5 net yards in the third quarter for Edmonton. That's not your guy. And if you think that's your guy, you've got a bad judgment of character because that is not the guy. I don't know why they didn't just start off. Look, I'm just going to go ahead here and just get into the Paris Jewelers inbox quickly. Dave says, there's nothing worth playing for this season. It blows my mind that the coaching staff isn't giving Ford more playing time. Even with results tonight, I have zero confidence in this team starting him next game. Orca Driver says, this picture says everything you need to know about Macbeth. And the picture is here as him standing alone after he was pulled. Nobody beside him on the bench. I just saw this. This is a live reaction. That is stunning. And remember what I had mentioned that I thought that there was just a little bit of a change in attitude for that team as soon as Trey Ford came in.
Well, look, the offense of Hamilton let up a bit. But here's the one thing I was saying about they went for a challenge.
Yeah,
like
they went for
they were
two.
still trying. They were still trying in that sense. But you go to their last few drives, got held to a field goal. They had 3 plays, went 6 yards. That was after the onside attempt by the Edmonton Elks that they didn't get. So they were right in field goal range right off the bat. But the Elks get a 2-0. Then the Elks force a fumble. Then it's the end of the game. Like, the defense came to play after that.
Yes.
And
but
the last time I've seen that with a quarterback where when they've gone out to play and I've seen the defense be inspired by it was Michael Riley. I don't know. There's something about when Michael Riley played, the defense was fired up. I haven't seen that with his franchise until tonight.
There was emotion on the defensive side of the ball like we hadn't seen all game. And there's no way you could deny that.
No.
We both saw that. C. Hendo comes into the Paris Jewelers inbox. If you want to get in there to 780-218-9999, 10 quarters without a passing TD before Ford went in. Enough said. Another loss, but thankfully there's something positive to talk about.
I got to defend MBT on that one because they, like the last, in regulation against Ottawa at home a couple weeks ago, he threw the ball as PI on Eugene Lewis. They got the ball at the 1, and then they scored a touchdown.
He didn't score it.
He didn't score, but it was a good drive, and that's where I don't want to go with
stats or stats.
Well, passing touchdowns. Well, if Cloud Bethel Thompson doesn't throw the ball to Geno Lewis, they're not at the 1, and then Prukop scores a touchdown. So I'm not. To me, the bigger stat is they went 7 quarters without an offensive touchdown.
Yep.
They went 7 straight quarters without an offensive touchdown. Because overall, driving the ball, I don't care if it's handed off. If you drive the ball and put the team in a position to score a touchdown, you put the team in a position to score a touchdown. So it was 7 quarters where this team didn't have an offensive touchdown. It took Trey Ford coming in, and he got 3 1/4. Now, should he start, the poll we have 87% say Trey Ford, 9% say McLeod Bethel Thompson, 4% say Dakota Prukop.
I wonder where the votes, if Dakota Prukop wouldn't have been on there, I wonder where they fall. Probably with MBT. Right?
I'm going to guess maybe more with MBT. Here's the thing. I would start Trey Ford the rest of this season. Like, I would just make it he's the starter the rest of the season. I don't believe that's what we will see.
You don't think he's going to start next week?
No. Saturday against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, MBT will be your starting quarterback. I don't trust Jerry. Here's why, because the 2 things I will point to is the audio clip we had from Tuesday or Wednesday where he goes, I was just trying to be fair. I'm going to do whatever is best for this team. Don't want to mess with rhythm and flow. And Jarius Jackson defending or basically outlining that he's sticking with MBT and not going to be mixing Trey Ford in.
That was for this game.
That was heading into this game. And then on top of that, when everyone, fans, media, and your media, but all we're saying Trey Ford needs to start that second half. And you still didn't do it until the 4th quarter. That, to me, says this is your guy. He said this is my guy. And I think he's going to go, we'll put him on a short leash, or we'll hear that we're going to mix things up. We're going to hear him go back to what he was saying last week of how you're going to mix the quarterbacks up. I don't have any faith in Jarius Jackson as the head coach of this team and the offensive coordinator to actually go on with Trey Ford because he didn't use him when we thought maybe he could have added him a little bit more last week. I will give him a pass because it's a short week. But then with the extra long week this week, chose not to plan for anything with Trey Ford. And when the situation called for Trey Ford, his immediate reaction was, nope, not doing that. So I don't think this week he will do it.
I don't know, Matty. I would disagree with you on that because I don't think this is necessarily going to be his decision. I don't think he's proven to have a good handle or as good of a handle on this team as one would think. Certainly not from, a G. Roy Simon's perspective. I don't know if there's going to be some pressure from the organization.
But where does that pressure come from? Because I don't think it's going to come from G. Roy Simon.
Rick Lawlisher.
And that
he's got to try put butts in the seats going forward.
I know.
Because this is not sustainable. Right?
I don't know if Rick wants to do that, be the business guy that is influencing football beyond what he's already done.
Because
he did that.
He's not a dummy.
I know, but that's a delicate balance when you're the president telling a coach and a GM what to do.
Well, he's the one that's hired him. So essentially,
true.
he's the one that signs their checks or however that works. He's got to have some say. And I don't know, if you're just looking at trying to put together W's from recent history, one would think, given, that was a decent sample size from Trey Ford. That was pretty darn good sample size. And the reaction, I just can't get over the reaction that came from the team.
Well, the crowd. Even just go the crowd. The crowd roar. The boos were loud. We heard it pretty clearly through the broadcast.
And I guess the crowd, the people watching here were
uproar.
Inspired as well.
Yes.
Give the people now. I mean, you've got nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing. Especially, if MBT was still putting together teams, or maybe he had won a game or two already, maybe there's a little bit more benefit of the doubt given. He's
100%.
not won. He's not won a game. Why not just – and I'm eating words here. I am, because I was the one that wanted to stick with MBT. But at the time, McLeod Bethel-Thompson was playing good football. You couldn't necessarily pin the losses solely on his play.
No.
What I've seen in the last couple games is not good enough. He's standing in the pocket. He's becoming a target. He's getting sacked. The ball, he's turning into Taylor Cornelius with his accuracy. And that's another thing I will say. Trey Ford came in and put the ball on guys. He put the ball on players so they could continue and have yards after catch. Right? You think of that Gavin Cobb drop, too, that stalled that series.
They scored on that series.
Sorry.
But it was... That was the first down. They could have been much further on that drive a little sooner.
That was a big drop. He came back and made up for it later down. But I thought that Trey Ford was delivering the ball on target, and I found McLeod Bethel-Thompson has started to. I don't know if I trust that accuracy as much as I did earlier in the season. So yeah, and who can deny how when he escaped out of the pocket and made an incredible throw downfield to Javon Leake, then did it again and rushed darn near for his own first down.
What did he tell us before this season?
He's not only is he fast, but he's
faster. He's faster. He's faster than last season. I think we saw glimpses of that today. We're live at Centric Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. This is the Green and Gold postgame show. Iwanyk and Jay Milne with you as the Elks fall to the Ticats 44-28. Want to jump into the nasty chat here. Timothy, glimmer of hope for what? Thinking we have a coaching staff that knows what to do. There's not a lot of confidence right now with the coaching staff. Jen, the coaching staff seem useless. Ford needs to be in the next game and every game after that. Duck Dad, Trey Ford, that's all. Rob C. Well, guys, this is now Trey Ford's team, right? Question mark. Because I think some people are with me in that they don't fully trust that this team is going to go forward and go with Trey Ford the next week. Calvin C. The arrogance of Jackson shows he shouldn't be part of the coaching staff anymore. Rip City Step, Iwanyk victory lap. I'm saving that for the hangout tomorrow. Not gonna lie, I'm going full victory lap here. Yeah, I don't need to do it in front of Jay here.
And Reed's gonna be there, isn't he?
Reed's gonna be there. Murray McCourt's gonna be there. Murray was on my side for that one. I get to do the full victory lap. President to the Trey Ford fan club over here.
As president and coup of the Trey Ford club, that's good.
Penner's Pancakes with me. When I mentioned earlier that Trey Ford's going to have stumbling blocks, agree, Maddie, but at least people will be excited to watch him play and develop, and that's the thing. It's just when he stumbles, careful on the criticism. Be fair with it. He's not above criticism. He's not beyond reproach.
Hey,
right? Let's just make that. That's what I want to make clear also with Trey Ford, but also we have to evaluate him for who he is, and he's not an experienced quarterback like MBT is. That when he goes out and has 3 or 4 drives that might stall, there's going to be criticism for it, but you also have to understand that he's growing and learning. And that's what we're all going to have to find that fine balance of evaluating Trey Ford the rest of the season with whatever we see him in.
We were fair with MBT.
No, 100%. No, but I'm saying, there's going to be some people out there that are, I'm not going to say who, that are going to rip on Trey Ford just for the sake of ripping on, because, I thought he's the savior. Why isn't he throwing touchdowns all the time? Why is it like there's going to be some of that I know is going to be there. Then there's going to also be some of the other people who are going to be a little too, it's okay, Trey. It's okay. Like a little softer on him, a little protective, a little bubble wrapping him when it comes to the criticism. And there's got to be a fine balance of that.
You're a professional quarterback 100%. In the CFL. If you're not producing, if you're not doing it,
you're going
to get criticized.
But
it don't matter if you're Trey Ford or McNabb.
100%. But at the same time, it's not like he has a couple of bad drives. We should be immediately calling for him to immediately put in MBT right away. Like with where we are in the season, with where the record is, and with the development now of him, you just got to let him go out there and have the growing pains at times. And that's I'm not saying you.
No.
And that's where there's going to be that fine balance. There's going to be some people that are going to be a little too coddling of him, and there's going to be some that are way too harsh on him. And there's that fine balance we have to find when it comes to
But he had a couple bad drives last game.
100%.
And we called it for what it was.
Yes.
But
I'm
guess
not saying
what?
us.
That outweighs MBT's play over the last 8 quarters that he's been in a game. By a mile. I want to get to a really neat I thought this was well said. Do you remember Ethan from Airdrie? Ethan from Airdrie was the fella that skipped his grad day in Airdrie and came up because he's a huge EST fan. Thanks for listening, Ethan. Hey, boys, Ethan from Airdrie here. Although Jackson, and this is listen to this because I think we can discuss this a bit. Although Jackson is so confident with MBT, why do you think his mind changed from when he was working with Ford for the entire last half of the season last year? What would change his mind from starting the 4-6 Trey Ford and offense that we saw last year, and even tonight, to the 0-7 MBT? And I think I think that's the Chris Jones effect.
I think it starts with Chris Jones. Like, look, the reason Trey Ford hasn't played this season through the first 5 games was because of Chris Jones. The reason McLeod Bethel-Thompson is brought in is because of Chris Jones. It falls at his feet. I will put some blame on G. Roy Simon as the assistant general manager as well. He's part of it. But there's one guy that makes the final decision on all that, and that's Chris Jones. So it starts with him. With Jarius Jackson, I guess I would think Chris Jones is listening to his OC. I would think he's listening to his AGM, and there's similar thoughts maybe between a lot of them. But this does fall with Chris Jones. As to the why Jarius Jackson wouldn't want to go a little sooner to Trey Ford, let's say this week, I don't have an answer, partly because I am blinded a little bit by being the president of the Trey Ford fan club. Like, I said as soon as last season ended, they needed to sign Trey Ford to an extension. I didn't get the McLeod Bethel-Thompson signing right off the bat. So to the question of why would he change his mind from starting the 4-6 Trey Ford offense we saw last year and even tonight to the 0-7 MBT, I don't know for the Jarius Jackson. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. I'll trust you a little bit more on that one because I'm blinded on that one. I know that.
I mean, you have a $400,000 quarterback coming in that you're not going to be able to just say, oh, we're going to sit him after 2 games that they've lost and sit him on the bench. MBT was putting up and has been putting up pretty solid numbers. I mean, he came into this game 3rd in the CFL in passing yards. This is not a scrub of a quarterback. He played like one today, and he's played like, we've said it. Look at what happened as soon as Trey Ford went in. There was a spark. Everybody could feel it. That is just something that you and I have not seen in any games this year.
Nope.
Not one.
Nope.
And that spark, look what happens. It's an emotional game. Look what happens. Your defense goes out there and gets a fumble. I get it was their backup running back. I get it was their backup quarterback, which had nothing to do with that fumble. But you have a team that's buzzing around, making plays, feeling a little bit good. That's good. If that's what putting Trey Ford in does to your team. And I still can't go back, say enough about this picture from Orca Driver that shows MBT on the sideline watching with nobody within 5 yards of him on either side. That says something. I don't know if he asked everybody to leave him alone and give him some space.
Oh, yeah, he was around the team when they showed him on the bench for a while. So I don't know when that picture was. I will say that.
And I do know that we saw it, and everybody that was watching on the broadcast, if you saw Trey Ford and Jarius Jackson was sitting in the middle on the bench between Trey Ford, MBT, and Jarius Jackson was in the middle. MBT got up and very frustratingly threw his hands in the air and walked off. Jarius Jackson looked stunned. Next time they come to the sideline, it's Trey Ford warming up with MBT. So I don't know if NBT said, screw it, put him in, or I can't take any more of this. I stink today, put him in. Because from all accounts, it seems like it's been a decent quarterback room. I don't see there's been divisiveness, but
I will say it's got to be tough to be a quarterback in your home team's booing you for the majority of the time you're out there. But now you're also being paid $400,000.
Then don't go 10 for 22 and have 85 yards and throw an interception. That's a pretty simple one.
There's that as well. Maybe he's just frustrated with his play. Maybe that's what that frustration is. It's him himself. I did one. There was a Abutsky, still Chris Jones's handpicked coaching staff. What should we have expected? Very fair point on that. McLeod Bethel-Thompson, top 5 paid QB in the CFL, paying almost $500K is ridiculous for a stopgap player. No offense, McLeod Bethel-Thompson doesn't expand the run game at all. That's from Edward Kelly. Andrei Lacusta, Andrei, I would assume it is. Release MBT, that will take the decision out of the coaching staff's hands. For that to happen, you need Jory Simon to agree with that. I don't know if Jory does agree with that fully. And I also don't want... I'll say this. If you are going Trey Ford the rest of the season, I don't want Dakota Prukop backing up Trey Ford.
No.
I want MBT backing up Trey Ford.
I
want a veteran quarterback backing him up, and I don't know one out there, so you're sticking with MBT. And MBT came in saying he wants to help develop Trey Ford, so we'll see what type of character this guy has. If he gets benched for Trey Ford, are you there to mentor this guy? Are you there to help develop this guy? And hopefully he is. And based on everything we've seen from him and heard from him, I do believe he is that type of guy. So I guess we'll wait and see. But you need a veteran quarterback behind Trey Ford because Trey Ford needs someone to talk to. Trey Ford needs someone to help with because, again, there's going to be some growing pains with Trey Ford, and he needs that help. And ultimately can't only be Jarius Jackson. Jarius Jackson's the offensive coordinator, QB coach, and head coach. But because he's also the OC and the head coach, he can't just be the quarterback coach. So Trey Ford, at times, is going to need to go speak to someone.
Yeah.
And if Jarius Jackson's busy talking, figuring out something that's going on because Boris Beatty had a terrible kick again or something, he needs somebody to go talk to.
Sorry, you brought up Beatty again.
I was waiting. You haven't got there yet.
Oh my God.
My dad has already texted me with that one. And what did he say with that one?
He's having a hard time on the kickoff.
Just saw the short kickoff. Horrible. You want to quickly go off on Boris Beatty?
Well, I mean, hey, for him doing his job today, he did his job today on the field goal side of things. I just thought it was a very Boris Beatty thing to do the double kick off your own foot on a like you got to kick it 10 yards to the side.
Yes.
And it was
5.
It was laughable. So I as far as kicking field goals, round of clicks for Boris Beatty today. As far as kicking short kicks, I'm sorry, but you failed. Into the nasty chat or the Paris Jewelers inbox, our dear friend Murray McCord has chimed in. He says, I will be raging on the hangout tomorrow. Effing joke has been for 1.5 years.
But there's that glimmer of hope right now. That's the thing we haven't had on a post-game show yet. We haven't been able to start going, that was good. Like, that's how they start because of what Trey Ford did to end. Now it's, okay, if they go with Trey Ford this week, and you're more confident than I am that they will.
I don't think they have a choice. I honestly don't think you have a choice.
I would have thought that you didn't have a choice going into the second half. I'm not going to lie. But it's one, if they are going with Trey Ford, all of a sudden there's that little extra buzz. What could Trey Ford do out there? And there's that just that glimmer of excitement for the Elks fans to have right now for an 0-7 football team, which is nice.
But here's the thing. Coming out of halftime, nobody knew if Trey Ford was going to come in, even if he got his number called, if he was going to do what he 100%. Did with 9:43 left in Q4. Now, the fans have seen that. Mm-hmm. The players have seen that. You don't think they're going to be pining for Trey Ford? So, anyways, here's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to be at practice this week.
Okay.
I'm going to make a point of it at least twice. Usually, you can only get there. I'll go as many times as I can. I want to see who's taking first-team reps. I want to know.
Sorry.
How's your iced tea?
I have to drink through the straw because of this mic thing, so sorry. That was a little loud.
You don't. I don't have a problem with it. See, Matt?
I just didn't want to do that because I like it settled in.
I want to see who's taking first-team reps. So I'm going to go down there and bug our dear friend Hernan, keep him company, and see. I don't see how you cannot start
And this doesn't give this team wins. Again, the defense is poor. They're not going to win football games if the defense plays the way they are.
Yeah.
But at least if you're going to win football or lose football games, at least be exciting like we saw at the end there.
But Matty, look how the defense played when.
I know, but it was only 2 drives.
I know.
It was only 2 drives, and I'm not ready to just be like,
I know.
They're going to figure this out defensively just because Trey Ford's in there. I'm not even ready to say the offense is going to be fully ready just because Trey Ford is there. So
first play they run when Trey Ford goes in. What was it? A delayed draw to Javon Leak up the middle for 30 yards.
Which, I kind of said it to you while we were watching. Where was that during the rest of the game?
I don't know.
You were a defensive guy. Is that the Ticats just because they're playing back because of the score, or is that they see Trey Ford coming in so they're spread out a little bit more because they're worried about the Trey Ford run and that opens up that draw?
That was a pass option. I mean, that set up when you looked at it from the end zone cut. That looked like Trey Ford was dropping back in. So as a defender, you turn your head and you look for whoever's in your zone. You have to find who's there. That split-second head turn gives time for that hole to open up, and then you're already dropping out and bailing out to your zone, looking for other players. It's like that touchdown that Pimpleton scored, where the Elks defender was not looking at him and he was literally running behind him. But when you're focused on your job and doing that and you think it's going to be a pass, that's why that opened that up. Now, why didn't they do that with McLeod Bethel-Thompson? I don't know. Why weren't receivers as open as they were for Trey Ford? They took 3 deep shots. One ended up in a touchdown. One resulted in a pass interference. One was an incompletion.
It should have been caught.
They didn't do any deep shots with McLeod.
They just opened it up.
Like, it's just staggering to me. Why do you not have play attempts when you're in that 40-yard and in? Take a shot at the end zone. There's probably a 15 to 20% chance that's going to result in a touchdown or pass interference.
Stealth Legends in the nasty chat. Can I say how you do expect your defense to be even decent when your offense keeps getting 2 and outs, pretty much having 3 to 4 minutes on the bench after a taxing drive multiple times against you? I would defend that.
That's a fine point. I mean,
but
you're having to deal with drives that are how many drives did they have that were, say, 5 plays or more?
Well, the second and the third drive of the game were that. 6-yard plays, and the Elks moved the ball in the possession
then they
before
had
that.
11, 5, 10.
Well,
those are sustained drives.
But the 11 was right after halftime.
Yeah.
So they had a rest. They had a long rest, and they still gave up 85 yards and 11 plays.
But then the next was a 3-play punt.
Yeah. No. And
right? then you're back into a 10-play drive.
The rest of the time it didn't go well. The rest of the time it didn't go there. But we saw in this very game, though, they were rested. You can't use the rest as an excuse, and they got beat. Coach Mark in the Paris Jewelers inbox, how does Rourke play into this conversation? The Elks must do anything in their power to sign him for next year. Well, part of this is on Nathan Rourke, too. For those that missed it today, the New York Giants did waive Nathan Rourke. We'll find out tomorrow if he was claimed by any other team. If he isn't, he's free to sign with whatever team he wants to. Maybe he signs with the practice roster. If he doesn't, then he probably looks at the Canadian Football League and coming up here. And that leads to the question of where does he go and who would want him. And as much as I love Trey Ford, I would understand going for Nathan Rourke. The only issue is it's going to cost you a lot of money. And this team has a lot of problems.
Well,
that
they
you
can't
can't
afford him. I mean,
but if let's say you got rid of MBT's money and you brought in Nathan Rourke in the same contract type thing. This is part of the reason that I said why I went with Trey Ford in the offseason, not MBT. It wasn't just because of Trey Ford. It was because you get some savings on his contract because you have to go fix other parts of this team. Bringing Nathan Rourke does not fix your defense. Bringing Nathan Rourke doesn't help your offensive line.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the budget would work for that. The other thing this is where it's difficult for the Edmonton Elks. We don't know who the general manager is next season.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like, you go bring in Nathan Rourke, you go sign up to $700,000. Well, that's G. Roy Simon making that move, or Rick Lawlish or whatever. Whoever's coming in to be the GM of this team next year is handcuffed immediately with the move that's not theirs.
Yeah.
And that's where they need to speed up this process a little bit of getting the new ownership here and announced and president, so that even the president could just make the calls. At least if the president's making that call, it's a different thing than a bunch of interns. But we will see. I would think Calgary would want Nathan Rourke. I'd be intrigued what BC wants to do with Nathan Rourke. I think BC would move on from VA.
No, I couldn't see that.
I could absolutely see it. Not this season. I think they come up with an agreement. You'll be bringing him back for 2025, moving on from VA. He sold a lot of jerseys out of Vancouver. I don't think Doman lets him go anywhere else. I think they would rather trade Vernon Adams somewhere than lose Nathan Rourke.
Well, they'd have to trade him because he's signed through 2025, right?
So through next year, you could just release him. Nathan Rourke's 26. How old's VA? 31. Going to be 32. No, 31. I thought maybe this week. So I think BC's the one that I would still believe he goes to BC. Darth Sidious, this whole team needs to be fired from top to bottom. Nobody running this organization has a clue. Absolute joke of a team. Well, that's happening with the new ownership. Duck Dad, if we had this trade forward going from the start of the season, Elks would have started 4-0, just the facts. I wouldn't agree with that.
I don't.
Those first 4 games of the season, I would put one of those specifically on MBT. The rest, the fourth one was but 2 of them for sure were not on MBT. I don't think Trey Ford gets them those victories. I think today, if Trey Ford comes in at halftime, maybe we're talking about a victory. Maybe.
Ooh,
that's the most I could say.
But you
that's
still
the most
have
I
a
could
defense
say.
that
I know.
Gave up 185 yards in the third quarter.
Absolutely. But it was a much closer ball game than when he came in.
I mean, at this point, let's just look at the like I said earlier, the 10-mile excuse me, the 10-mile view of what happened today was that Edmonton fans had something to cheer about. For really one of the only the only other time you could sense that, oh man, this is happening, this is great, is when they drove the ball down and tied the game up late, only to be ruined by the man that shall not be named anymore, because I don't even want to look at that name. But there was excitement. There was something to believe in. And that is something you need to, especially in a position where you're 0-7. I'm sorry, but you need to now beg and plead for your fan base to stay loyal at this point. And a real quick way to do that, win or lose, is to have Trey Ford at the helm.
I want to get to a text, offense but non-Trey Ford related, from Babouche Stash. On a non-Trey Ford note, can Leak carry the load if Kevin Brown is out? I know he's been dog water, but that's less on KB than it is on Jackson. Can Leak get the job done? When we saw Javon Leak take over for Kevin Brown today, he actually looked pretty solid. He started with carries earlier in the game, but overall he had 8 carries for 55 yards. He also caught the ball 3 times for 33 yards. When he came, him and, Trey Ford, I have a package apparently coming to my house. When Trey Ford and Javon Leak, they go out together, it looked really good. Do you believe Javon Leak can do this? Because I have the only concern I have with Javon Leak is ball possession. Can he hold on to the rock? He's been known to drop that ball, especially on offense. He's had 2 big ones this season that have turned games around. If he can hold on to the ball, I do have belief that he could carry the load. Do you?
Yeah. I don't think that Kevin Brown is out. I didn't see anything.
We didn't get a he was out notification from the Elks.
It looked like maybe something collarbone sort of injury, but he got up and he was moving his arm around.
Well, that MBT picture that was sent in, Kevin Brown standing the closest to him.
Okay.
Can you look it up?
Yeah.
The thing I will say on Kevin Brown, too, is I've seen over the last couple of years, see that's him right there. I've seen over the last couple of years him get hurt, and I go, that's going to be a tough loss. And then he's either out there the next possession or there's the next game. The guy's a tough SOB. He's a tough SOB, and it takes a lot to take him out. But if he is out, do you think Leak could do it?
Yeah, if you get him into open spaces. I don't think he's going to carry the mail up the gut. Kevin Brown with his big legs churning. Javon Leak's a different style of running back, so you may have to maybe attack the edges a little bit more, get him out in space. Much like that draw at the end of the game that was the first play with Trey Ford coming into the game, that was something I don't think we've seen this year. So, to answer your question, I think he can. Ball security is a major concern there. It has burnt this team a couple times, but handling the ball more might help that as well. So once again, that'll be something I can look at as to who's taking first team reps down at practice this week.
Commonwealth Stadium, 17,000 attendance. I just wanted to go look that up quickly. So just over 17,000. I think it was 17,079 at Commonwealth today. Travis, because people are actually asking about the Riverhawks, who's higher in the standings. Riverhawks close to 7,500 at their game today. They actually, we were looking at it was 7,000, just over 7,000 today. How many at the Elks? The Elks had 17,000. That's what they had. Now, officially, what do they have in? I don't know. I would guess I'll probably be able to find the number later this week. It'll probably be between 12 and 13,000 that was at that game.
Right.
So the Elks still do get more fans overall. It's just the Riverhawks are a great success, and I was at the Riverhawks last night. It's incredible what has been built there. I do still stand by this one thing when comparing the Riverhawks to the Elks. The results don't matter for the Riverhawks fans. The results matters for the Elks fans, and they're in different categories. I think when I walked Remax Field yesterday, if I went to most people and said, where are the Riverhawks in the standings, most would have no clue.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You go to Commonwealth and say, have the Elks won a game this year? Absolutely, everyone would be like, nope, they have not won. It sucks, and they'd be mad. You could go have a great time at Commonwealth at the tailgate throughout the game, but if the Elks lose, people are going to walk away upset. You can go have a great time at a Riverhawks game, and if the Riverhawks lose, you leave happy. There is a big difference between those two, and I find it very difficult and unfair almost to the Elks to say, the Riverhawks are so great. They're look what they're doing. It's so much better than what the Elks are doing. Are there things the Elks could learn from the Riverhawks? 100%. But in the end, the Elks, the result matters in this fan base, which is a blessing and a curse. Right now, it's a curse. The Riverhawks, the results don't matter. It's just about going out, having a good time. Go watch one of those games and see how many people are actually paying attention to the ball. There's a lot that don't, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the Riverhawks, but the Elks have to get through that. It's the winning that matters, and they start winning football games, people will be back. And maybe Trey Ford leads those wins once again. Will he start against Saskatchewan next week? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Tuesday would be the first day on the field. And I was trying to see if there's any tweets from, Jarius through
Jarius
the post
Jackson?
game.
No.
Well, I was looking to see if there'd be anyone tweeting his post-game press conference about what he's saying post-game, and I haven't seen anything as of yet, like 3 Down Nation or anything like that. I'm not seeing a single thing.
he won't say anything right now because it's too close to that terrible interview he gave at halftime to Tommy.
But I would like to hear what he would have to say about...
Why did you say that? Why did you say that this is your guy?
What did you think of Trey Ford? I want to hear his analysis of Trey Ford. Is he going to come out there and be like, yeah, he did some good things, but it was late in the game, it was a little bit garbage time or whatever? Or is he going to sit there and praise Trey Ford?
Why would anybody in their right mind say anything but positive about... If he comes out and lays an egg about this and says, well, it was garbage, Trey got in at the time when the game was out of hand. And if he says that, I will be speechless.
Well, I'll just say this. I'm not going to put anything past this organization right now and this coaching staff because I believe there's a big arrogance from them.
Well,
they're stuck in their ways.
That's got to stop.
And their feet are planted. And this is why I'm still of the skeptical side of that. I think MBT's the starting quarterback next Saturday.
If they come out and start MBT next week, I just think you're just missing a massive opportunity to, I'd like to see them come out on Tuesday and name Trey Ford the starter. Screw it.
Actually, here's the thing where the only reason I would say no, the only reason, while one, there is the benefit of, it's not a home game coming up. Yeah. I would do the gamesmanship. I would say it in the locker room, Trey Ford's my starting quarterback, but I would be like, we don't know. Just for gamesmanship.
It'll come out.
If it was a home game, if it was a home game, I would be with you saying, yeah, Trey Ford's my starter to sell those tickets. Because you're off to Saskatchewan, I'd try to play some games. Maybe. I'm with you. Like, the poll, which is dropping a little bit. It's dropping, but it's dropping in the different direction. So who's going to be the starting quarterback of the Elks next week, or who should be is their poll question. Trey Ford's down to 87%. MBT's still at 9%. Dakota Prukop's up to 5%. So there's more votes going to Dakota Prukop than McLeod Bethel Thompson. I had to throw that one in there. Derek V, it's not unfair in my opinion. At least when you show up to a Riverhawks game, they have a chance to win a game. They could come back for the AE if they got back to winning. Here's where you're wrong about that, Derek, is last year they were a bad baseball team. The Riverhawks were not a good baseball team last season, and the last home game of that home stand that the Riverhawks had when they were out of the playoffs, they had no shot, was their best home stand last year. They weren't winning baseball games. They were going out and, you would have seen more losses than wins in those games, and people still completely showed up. There's a lot of people that leave a Riverhawk games that probably don't even know who won or lost sometimes. There's an added pressure to this Elks organization business-wise of no matter what they do business ops-wise.
You were on Cloud 9 last time.
It's what happens on the it's at which one?
Sauerkraut Day.
Oh, that one was
the
Riverhawks game. I also won $100 at the Hawk Shop, although everyone wants to take away my victory.
Oh, yeah, and I want to buy that off you. But
JB Ram, Ford is a 4-6 as a starter. MBT 0-7 this year. Cornelius 0-9 last year. Ford might not fix all the problems, but he's entertaining and keeps the Elks competitive. You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah,
we're all preaching to the choir.
I just can't see how you can continually deny this action and this change given what we saw tonight. Now it's without a doubt. Now you can't. Otherwise, you're going to have to look at you're going to have to scan your brain and see what's going on in there. One of those kind of things. Because there'd be no sense, no rhyme, no reason to not start Trey Ford. I saw a note earlier in the Paris Jewelers inbox, and I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Hey, Jay, remember the last 2 games last year for Ford and when they put a spy on him and he was not effective? If they're going to put a spy on him, I saw a quarterback that was throwing a pretty damn good ball. I thought pretty accurate as well. If you're going to spy him and get him out of the pocket, that's just one less defender downfield. So I don't know.
And that's the development of Trey Ford, though, that needs to come. Last year, teams spied him in the last couple of games. They took on Winnipeg, lost 45-25 in the Elks' last game of the season, and they lost to Montreal 35-21, although this is a game where I got to find the scoring of this because they were up 21-3, and then it all collapsed right. Like they had a missed field goal for a touchdown. Like it all collapsed right at the end. Trey Ford wasn't bad in that game actually, but okay, they didn't go get the wins. This season, can he grow from that? Mm-hmm. If a team spies him, can he? What you say there? That means there's less of a defender down there.
Yep.
Can he hit that open receiver or that other receiver that's
Judging
unmanned
from what
or whatever?
I saw tonight, yep.
But that's what he needs. That's how he needs to develop. That's the evolution of Trey Ford we need to see. Because if he can do that, then really, what kind of threat is he? If you spy him and he beats you, if you don't spy him and beats you, like there's a lot of threats.
He was dead to rights on that last scramble twice, and he still got away. And the one prior, he got away from a defensive back that was coming up and threw a rocket down to Javon Leake. So
there was the run he had in Calgary Labor Day last year. Someone within the Elks actually showed me. They compared it. They put the video up with the Kyler Murray run from this year in the NFL. Trey's was better.
Really?
They were very similar, but you watch the two and you go, Trey's was better. This guy's athletic. This guy's evasive. This guy's elusive. The thing is, can he just grow and make the throws when he needs to? And also, to everything you said this offseason, not look to run immediately. Can he grow from those? And if he can, there's a starting quarterback in the Canadian Football League that could do some damage.
Yep.
And get your fans excited.
Let's not forget that. There's got to be let's face the music here. This is an 0-7 football team. At some point, you have to start thinking about, just trying to take care of what.
Well, I think we're on to 2025 almost right now.
Owen Janes in the Paris Jewelers inbox.
Don't see him playoffs.
This is something maybe we should all take this as our mantra for the week. Mentally preparing for MBT next week, so I'm either pleasantly surprised or characteristically disappointed in the team again. Well said.
I'm always think the worst.
Well, maybe
it's the best.
maybe
only good happens. Only good comes.
The CEO of the Trey Ford fan club can take that president Nku, can take that advice there. So it's characteristically.
President of the fan club is having a good night tonight. That's the one thing I can say.
Characteristically disappointed. I love that.
The Trey Ford fan club's having a night tonight. They're a lot of extra hits on the website of membership subscriptions coming in tonight.
Memberships are going through the roof.
Memberships are coming up. We have a little bit of a crash right now happening when it comes to Trey Ford. We are at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, where every day is game day. Iwanyk and Jay Milne with you here. Penner's Pancakes. Sorry if I missed it. Is there anything in the 1 to 3 EST time slot very excited for the Reed and Glue show. For those that missed it on Friday, the announcement that we made at the Nasty Bash was coming this fall, weekdays from 3 until 6 in the afternoon on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube, as well as on podcast later. It is the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. We will have programming 1 to 3. That is yet to be announced. We did also announce, though, Jasmine, one of the Nasty Club members, one of our nasties out there. She will be a co-host on a regular basis on the EST Hangout as well. But we're very excited for what's coming in fall here to Edmonton Sports Talk, as we will launch year 2 in a fun way by expanding from 6 until 6, Monday through Friday. We have Oilers pre and post still. We have Elks pre and post. This summer we've been running Riverhawks and Stingers games. We're very excited about the growth of the station. Hello Hockey on Saturdays. And, of course, the VIP Golf Show, which aired earlier today at 8 o'clock. Go check it out at EdmontonSportsTalk.com if you missed it earlier. Next Saturday, Elks, Riders. We will be back here at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. So come and join us on Saturdays. The daily special is the prime rib sandwich.
Yes.
Which was delicious the last Saturday that they had. So I'm just throwing that out there. Also the game day special. Cheese and jalapeno smoky with the waffle fries. Jay, early thoughts as we head into Saskatchewan beyond whether Trey Ford or McLeod Bethel Thompson starts?
Well, do your due diligence in the film room. As a defensive unit, that's got to be tightened up. That is, total offense here for Hamilton, 429 yards to 305 yards. So 100 yards rushing, 316-yard passing. But that was only on 17 completions. That's an average of 12.6 yards per attempt. That's too much. So, do some film work. I'm not sure how you're going to get that unit together. Obviously, we've seen it in the past where more pressure helps a lot with the secondary. So dial it up a bit more. Is it going to be Shea still starting at quarterback? So,
I don't know if there's anything with Trevor Harris. I didn't see the status.
So get Patterson
I like
unsettled.
Shea Patterson. They should probably go with him moving forward.
I was surprised. I was talking with Lieutenant Eric, and he had mentioned, I said, when Harris is back, though, they're going to stay with Shea, right? And he said, absolutely not. He figures it was a much smoother offense with Harris at the helm, even though the wins have come.
I think that's the difference between what he wants and what the team will do.
You think the team will stay with Shea?
Yeah, they'll go to Trevor Harris.
That's what I thought.
They'll go to Trevor Harris.
Oh, they'll go to Trevor Harris.
They'll go to Trevor Harris.
Okay.
They should stick with Shea. They should keep developing him. They should keep going with him. He's winning football games and keep going that way. But Trevor Harris is that quarterback, and there's a thing in sport. You don't lose your job to injury. I think he comes back, though, on a short leash in that sense.
Yeah.
But I think he gets – and I don't think Corey Mace would do that to his locker room. Corey Mace is a very team guy. He's built a nice culture there. I don't think he wants that message to be sent out there because it's not like Trevor Harris can't win them football games.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going with a guy who's not winning. You're going to go with Cap from Sunday.
Jack Rooney, the starting quarterback for the Sharks at any given Sunday, he was replaced because of injury for good reason. To my boy, Willie Steeman.
He came back in.
He shouldn't have.
He was supposed. Didn't he start again?
Well, then he couldn't take the injections anymore, so he had to.
Right, but he started after an injury.
He did, but he shouldn't have.
But Trevor Harris will start because you don't lose your job to injury.
You lose the job to Willie Steeman Beeman anyways because he's the better quarterback. Great movie.
What was I going to mention before? Oh, the poll. We got the poll. I ended it. Who should be the starting quarterback for the Elks next week? Trey Ford, 87%. McLeod Bethel Thompson, 8%. Dakota Prukop, 4%. We will be live with the Green and Gold Kickoff Show 4 o'clock next Saturday because I believe that is a 5 o'clock game as the Elks head to Saskatchewan to take on the Riders. Yes, it is a 5 o'clock game, so we'll be on live here at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge at 4 o'clock for that game. And I just got to get to this text that was sent to me by my friend. You all know him, Tyler Remchuk. How the bleep were the Elks favorites tonight? What happened there? And then in all caps, I bet on them. Why would I do that? That's a really good question, Ty. That's a really good question. Any final thoughts?
I mean, we've touched on it. I mean, there's a taste and a sense of excitement out of seemingly nowhere.
Yep.
So I'm happy for those fans that have been struggling and waiting for this moment. And how could you live up to this moment any better than what we saw with our own eyes from Trey Ford? I don't know. You tell me. But if they're committed and satisfied.
In touchdowns, there's a glimmer of hope for Elks fans here in the city. Thanks to everyone for tuning in to the Green and Gold post-game show. Matt Iwanyk, Jay Milne with you here. Coming up tomorrow morning, Dustin Nilsson, Lieutenant Eric, YouTube Hangouts. He'll also spend a little bit of time on the morning show late tomorrow, so you won't want to miss that. Thanks again to the staff at Centric Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, and everyone who jumped in also in the Nasty Chat and the Paris Jewelers inbox. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will chat with you tomorrow.